Okay, now let's talk about probability. But first, let's talk about sample versus population. Gallup poll in 2012 predicted Romney was leading the vote, 50% versus 49%. The result, however, was 47 versus 51. Obama won the election. There were 211 million people of voting age and 121 million people did cast the vote. Now, how many people did Gallup poll survey? Actually, they only survey about 1,000 or 2,000 top. And actually, Gallup poll are quite accurate. Usually, they are quite accurate. Sometimes they make mistakes like this year, but usually they are quite good. All right. Now, how did they select the people to ask? It's something we called random sampling. They pulled out registered telephone owners and randomly pick out the numbers and ask people. And this is quite amazing. 1,000 or 2,000 people can represent so many people. But why this year they made the wrong prediction? It is because their sample is not exactly random, and they didn't know that until later. Okay. What happened was they select too many landline owners. But anyway, that suggests to us that random sampling is very important and very powerful. If we really do random sampling, then the sample can represent the huge population. Now, what is random sampling? It's if every member in the population has an equal chance to be selected into the sample. Okay, and the sample should be able to represent the population if it is random sampling. Now, how do we do the real random sampling? So, for example, if we want to survey, the research question is how much students in WMNU likes to eat pizza, right? Now, we want to do the random sampling. How do we do that? Now, a lot of students will say, "Oh, how about this? I'll go to the library and randomly pick up people and do the survey." Now, is that random sampling? Actually, no, it's not. Okay. Now, why not? See the definition here. Every member in the population has an equal chance to be selected. Now, do you think every student will go to the library? Probably not. Maybe some students prefer to study in a different place, right? In the dorm, or a lot of students, they just sleep in the dorm. They don't go to the library, right? So that's not real random sampling. Right? The real random sampling is you have to pull out every single student's name and randomly, pick up the students, which is a huge trouble. Okay? That's why we say never mind. In the field of psychology, in most of the fields in social sciences, we never really do random sampling. As I said, it's just so difficult, right? See, a lot of students they don't care, right? They don't give a poop about science. So instead, we do convenience sampling, like we just go to the library, right, and pick up people, or we use volunteers, or we use the Gen-Sci students. Either say we have to do this to in exchange of research credits, or back them say if you do this research for us, we give you extra credits, or give you some money. But usually we don't have money. The problem is, of course, the sample probably is kind of biased, right? But we will do something to reduce the possible bias. Okay, probably not totally, but we can at least to reduce a possible bias. And how do we do that? It is something called random assignment. So guys, please remember random sampling and random assignment, they are different. Okay. So for example, if we have a bunch of participants with all different characteristics, here represented by different colors, right? And usually the research design is we have experimental group and control group, right? We have at least two groups. We'll do the experiment and then we'll compare the result across these two groups. Before we do that, we need to assign them to either group. And of course, we do it randomly, and that is called random assignment. So hopefully, we're expecting this. Oh, yeah, we also have to do the random assignment, or we're screwed, right? Like totally. So hopefully, who we are expecting is like this. Randomly assigned to either group. And then after that, hopefully we find each group, contains it's like see the red is in each group. This I'll say yellow. Each group two. This is green. Anyway, two groups are hopefully approximately equal. Probably cannot be totally equal, but approximately. Especially if we have a big sample. Okay, we don't need too big a sample, but we need a big enough sample. All right. So it's important to be able to assume that experimental and control groups are about equal. So for example, in this study, Secrets and Stan, 2001, they used how far away white participants sit from a black student as an indicator of prejudice. Now, participants in the experimental group who learned that others do not share their prejudice tend to sit closer to the black compared to those in control group. Now, some people will say, well, this sitting distance probably is not a good indicator of prejudice, right? Because like me, I like to sit far away from other people, and it has nothing to do with prejudice, right? So how can we use a sitting distance as an indicator? Well, the thing is this. If we do the random assignment, then we have a reason to believe some people prefer sitting far away from people. Are randomly equally assigned to both groups, either in experimental or control, right? So these two groups, experimental and control, are approximately equal. Now, everything being equal, only one thing is different. That in experimental group, they learn that others do not share their prejudice. This is the only thing that is different across two groups. Now, if that is the case, and then the result is a sitting distance being different, then we have reason to believe that this IV indeed causes the DV. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. In other words, random assignment is very important. Okay, now suppose we put all Americans in an experimental group, Asian in control. That will be the problem. Of course, it's a confound. You have two things that are different, right? One is this IV. We experimental group people learn others do not share their prejudice belief, and we also have race difference. When the result comes out, we don't know which one causes this outcome. Okay, so random sampling and random assignment, they are important.